What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for Dana White's Contender Series, Season number 6, Week number 10.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and prediction video. This week breaking down week number 10, which is going to be the season finale of what has been a pretty good season in my opinion. And I think we're going to end it with a bang here, with a Bo Nickel fight. We're going to see if he can get this win, see if he can get that contract that a lot of people thought he very well deserved in his last fight. So that's going to be a great fight. I think there's a lot of great fights on this card, and should be a fun one. So before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Going to have UFC content coming out throughout the week for UFC Vegas 61, and we have some great cards to end the year. We have a big pay-per-view coming up, Islam Makhachev going against Charles Oliveira. Cannot wait for that, so definitely make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on all the other content. But we have some Dana White's Contender Series to talk about, and we will start with the first fight on the card. We have Mateus Bocao Mendonca, we'll call him Mateus here, going against Ascii Azim. So we'll start with Mateus. He did train at Shoot to Box Diego Lima. I'm not sure if he's still there or not, but obviously he did train with very good guys. Daniel Santos, guys like that. Charles Oliveira, obviously. So training with some very, very good guys. He's 29 years old. He's 5'6", 9-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Mateus here. He has a 55% finish rate, 22% by knockout, and 33% by submission. Some notes I have on him: he's a very fast starter, lots of pressure, very aggressive, tons of volume, mixes it up very well on the feet, lots of tools on the feet as well. And he is willing to eat one to give one. Doesn't really have the best striking defense in the world, and he definitely relies on his chin and his toughness. He does have a very good chin, though, and he kind of reminds me of somebody we'll see Saturday in Daniel Santos, who Santos is going to pressure, he's going to eat a bunch of shots, and he showed in the Arce fight, Santos did, where he has a phenomenal chin. I think the same thing. I think Mateus has a very good chin, and he relies on it, which you don't always want to do that, but it's nice to know that he does have that toughness in him. He will close distance and go for takedowns here. He doesn't look to have the best wrestling in the world, but he is relentless with it at times. And when he does get the fight down to the mat, he's very good. I like his ground game quite a bit. He will throw knees in the clinch. He will control guys against the cage, win minutes against the cage. I do like that as well. He can also take the back standing. He can jump guillotine. And his ground game is pretty solid. I was really impressed with what I saw. If he does get the fight down to the mat, in this fight as well, I think he can definitely do some damage, potentially finish the fight. And I also like that he sets a relentless pace. He has great cardio. He uses the pressure as a weapon. He uses his toughness as a weapon. He's willing to eat one to give one. And he has the chin to back it up. So yeah, I really do like what I see from Mateus in this fight. Azim, he is 5'8", 70.5-inch reach, 6-1, 4-1 his last 5 fights. Notable loss, his only loss, he did lose to Chris Moutinho back in 2020 by knockout. Not the best look in the world. I know Moutinho fought in the UFC. I don't think Moutinho's UFC caliber, though. 84% finish rate, very dangerous. 67% by knockout, 17% by submission. Some notes I have on him: he's a very quick finisher, lots of power, and I mean a lot of power. He did finish his last 3 fights all in under 60 seconds. 2 were by knockout, and 1 was by submission. I did see him get extended against Chris Moutinho. I believe, for those wondering, Chris Moutinho went with the blue hair in that fight, as far as I'm concerned. Azim did knock down Moutinho, I think, twice. One was with a leg kick, and then one was with a nice punch and sat Moutinho down. He did allow Moutinho to get back up. But, as the fight went on, Moutinho kind of does what Moutinho does. I mean, he went out there and he ate just a ton of punches. He pressured forward, and I didn't really like what I saw when Azim was getting pressured, and I think that's going to be a problem in this fight. And we saw Moutinho just go out there and just break him. Azim had nothing left in the second round. He was completely gassed. He was done. Moutinho let off a big combination, ended up finishing the fight, TKO standing, I believe. So did not like what I saw from Azim in that matchup, but don't get me wrong, Azim hits very, very hard. He hits very, very hard, and Mateus is definitely going to have to, be careful on the feet, but I have a feeling these guys are going to stand and bang. I mean, Azim, his striking defense is pretty terrible as well. It was kind of funny and actually watching both Moutinho and Azim go after it, because both guys just block punches with their face. So I don't think Azim has the best striking defense in his own right. So I think the better fighter here is Mateus, and I think the line is going to indicate that. I've not looked at the lines yet. It's my first time. I did take a peek at the Bo Nickel line earlier in the week. That was like minus 1,000 or something. But I do see that Mateus opened up minus 220. He is currently minus 308. Ajim opened up plus 185. He is currently plus 258. Yeah, I expected. Pretty decent size favorite to Mateus. I think he's the better fighter, but Ajim has a ton of power. This is MMA. He could potentially land a shot, but I think Mateus gets this done. I'll say second round finish for Mateus in this matchup. Looking forward to see the debut of Mateus in the UFC one day. I think he has some solid potential. All right, move on to the next fight. We have Rafael Ramos Estevan going against Joe Elias. We start with Estevan here. He is training or has trained at Nova União. I'm not sure if he's still there. He's 26 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. He's 10-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him. He has a 30% knockout rate, 30% submission rate for an overall finish rate of 60%. So he did start training jiu-jitsu at 14 years old. He's very, very aggressive on the feet. He doesn't look too comfortable striking at times. He will come forward and brawl though, mostly the close distance and go for the takedown. He'll let off with he'll charge forward with combinations. Not really the most technical striking in the world, but it does get the job done. He's able to close the distance and get the fight down to the mat eventually. Very solid wrestling. Like the wrestling from this guy. Good control and pressure on the mat. Has some very solid ground and pound. He can be a little bit over aggressive at times. Have seen him reversed here and there. But his cardio is very good, and I think that's going to be key here. His cardio is very good, and he can push a crazy pace for 15 minutes. He should have the clear cardio advantage in this fight, and I think he more than likely has the striking advantage too. I mean, you go back and watch some of this guy's fights a couple years ago, his striking is not that great, but as of late, I think his striking has improved a ton, and I do think he'll probably be the better striker in this fight, but I do think this fight does primarily play out on the mat. Elias, he's 27 years old. He's 5'3". I'm not sure on the reacher. He's 17-3-1 and 4-1 his last 5 fights. His only notable fight was against Bruno Correa in 2019. Correa did fight on the Contender series against, I think, CJ Vergara. And that fight was a draw. But he does have a 71% finish rate, 60% by knockout, 65% by submission, so very dangerous on the mat. And he's looking to get the fight down to the mat earlier and often. I mean, you go watching this guy's fights, he's looking to get the fight down to the mat within the first couple seconds in some of these fights. He has solid control on top. He's able to transition to the back nicely, very dangerous on the mat, and has finished the majority of his wins by submission. When he is getting the finish, it is by submission. He does have that one knockout win. I was not able to watch that knockout. I'm not sure if it was a TKO or what, but probably was a TKO. I don't see him going out there and knocking anybody out on the feet anytime soon. He will give up position at times to go for submissions, but it does work out for him. But as we know, at this higher level, losing position to go for those submissions, it does not always work out unless you're like high level, like a Ryan Hall, like a Mackenzie Dern, like fighters like that. His ground game overall, I'd say, is pretty impressive. I did see him get an armbar win in his last fight. I think it was like less than 30 seconds, got the takedown, got the armbar. It was like that. Don't get to see a ton of his striking, but when I did see him strike, it definitely left a lot to be desired. There was one fight where he was not able to get the takedown, and his striking, I'll say, was okay, but just very hittable, very sloppy. I mean, he wants to get the fight down to the mat. He just swings very, very wild. He's just looking to close distance here. So I think it's a close fight. I'm curious to see what the line is, but I'm going to go with the Estevan side for a couple reasons. The biggest reason for me is the cardio. I think he absolutely has the better cardio. The second reason, like I said, he's a black belt in BJJ. He's been training BJJ since he was very, very young. A very good grappler. I think he's going to have the cardio advantage. I think he's probably going to have the grappling advantage, and I think he's going to have the striking advantage. If this fight was to play out on the feet for any point in time, I think I do favor him the striking. So I will slightly favor Estevan here. Let's see what the line is. We do see that Estevan is, his name's like different on best fight odds. So he opened up minus 190, currently minus 170. Elias opened up plus 165. He's currently plus 145. I think that's fair. Like, I'm impressed with both guys, and I think they're both very similar as well. I just think the cardio and the striking is definitely in the favor of Estevan. So give me Estevan for the win. I'll take him to win. I'll say by submission. I'll say he submits Elias here. All right, next we have Freddie Linares going against Jack Jenkins. I am very, very excited for this fight because we'll talk about Jack Jenkins first. He's does not say his age, I don't believe. No age on Jack Jenkins here, but he's 5'7", 9-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him. 77% finish rate overall, 44% by knockout, 33% by submission. Notes I have on Jack here, pressures on the feet early on, very good boxing, super fast hands and throws and combinations, lands with a ton of power, mixes it up well to the body, hits the body very hard, also has some very hard leg kicks. I did see him get a knockout win with a calf kick, so he kicks very hard, he hits very hard. When he punches the body, it sounds like a baseball bat. Like, this guy hits like a truck. And he just has a ton of tools on the feet. He's very sharp on the feet. I'm very impressed with his striking. Everything he does is with power, and he just has a ton of weapons. Takedown defense looks really solid. He'll need to definitely stuff takedowns in this fight. And we'll talk about Freddie in a bit, but I don't think it's really close on the feet here. I think Jenkins has way too many tools here on the feet for Freddie. I think this guy is very, very, very impressive on the feet. The way he attacks the body is very impressive to me. So I really like what I see from Jack Jenkins here. Freddie Linares is 25, very young guy, 5'7", 8-1, 4-1 his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him. 85% finish rate, so very dangerous. 75% by knockout, 13% by submission. Very questionable level of competition. I've seen him get hurt and dropped on the feet. Looks like he's fighting in slow motion at times. I'm not sure if like my internet connection was bad when I was watching this guy, but it looks like he's like fighting in very slow motion. Like, he's going to be at a huge speed disadvantage on the feet. He wants to get into a war with his opponents, and he gets hurt a lot. I saw him get wobbled. I saw him get dropped. He takes one to give one, and I don't think he has a chin to back it up. Solid power when he lands, though. He's very long and rangy. I'll give him that. He is a finisher. He's finished all but one of his wins. He looks to have some wrestling in his back pocket, and I think he'll want to use that wrestling in this matchup as well. But for the most part, he just wants to go out there and stand and bang. On top, he has solid ground and pound, but that's not really his game. I mean, he just wants to go out there and take your head off by the looks of it. I have seen him get taken down himself. I don't think he's going to have to worry about that. He's not going to have to worry about that in this matchup. His cardio is pretty good. He did go 5 rounds, and he did mix in takedowns along the way. So, yeah, I absolutely think that Linares is going to have to get takedowns in this matchup. He's not going to want to strike with Jack Jenkins. I mean, I think he's going to strike with Jack Jenkins. He's not going to want to do that, though. Jack Jenkins, I think he's going to be the much better striker by a mile here. I love his striking. I think he knocks out Linares in this matchup. I think he stuffs the takedowns when they come, and on the feet, I just think it's night and day. I think Jenkins is the much better striker, so I imagine Jenkins will be a pretty decent-sized favorite, and we see that Jenkins opened up -160. Goodness, yeah, I would love that -160. And he's now -320, -335. Linares opened up +140, and he's currently +275. I mean, yeah, Linares is dangerous, but I think Jenkins is the better fighter overall, and by a decent margin. So you'd really like what I see from Jack. Give me Jack by, I'll say, first or second round knockout. All right, next we have Sam Patterson going against Vincius Ascii. Yeah, and this is probably the toughest fight on the card to call for me. We'll start with Sam Patterson. He's 26 years old. He's 6'4", 9-1-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him. 88% finish rate. Very good finisher. Both guys are. 44% by knockout. 44% by submission. Some notes I have on him. He's fought some very solid competition overall, and he's fought the better competition between these two guys. I'll say by probably a wide margin. We'll talk about the competition of Ascii in a bit. He's huge for the division. 6'4" at lightweight. Like, that is unheard of. I think Jalen Turner, he's like 6'3" at lightweight, right? So just unheard of. 6'4" at lightweight. It's just nuts. He's going to have a big height and reach advantage in this fight, although since he's not a small guy by any means. He does a lot of backing up, but he uses his range, his length pretty well. Very good at managing distance also. When he lets his hands go in combinations, he's very dangerous, very quick. I like what I see from him. Uses his jab very well. His reach is insane, especially for the division. We don't have the number there, but I know for a fact his reach is very, very, very impressive. It takes his time. He's very calm, cool, collected. Doesn't really want to go out there and get into a war, get into a brawl. Kind of just, I don't know, just seems like it's like he's been there before. I mean, it looks good. Seems to be very well-rounded wherever the fight goes. Seems to have a sneaky submission game as well. Like I said, finished half of his finishes come by knockout, half by sub. And I'm just pretty impressed with what I see from Patterson here. But as far as Ascii, he's 26. So they're both 26. Don't know the height, don't know the reach, but he's not a small guy. I saw them face off. I think he's a couple inches smaller. He's still very big for lightweight himself, but Patterson's a freaking monster at lightweight. He's 7-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him. 100% finish rate. Has finished all of his wins, 14% by knockout, 86% by sub. So he's fought some very questionable competition. His last win was over a fighter making his debut. Not a good look, and there's not a ton of footage on him. Was only able to see 2 fights. Both did not last long. One went to the second, and then one ended in like 50 seconds or less. He seems pretty big for the division himself, but he's going to be at a big reach and height disadvantage. He's very aggressive and wild on the feet. He has some power. He'll be looking to get this fight down to the mat. He seems pretty dangerous. Very good submission game and grounded pound. Like, if he can get on top, he's super dangerous. From what I've seen, haven't seen a ton, but honestly, like, I was pretty impressed with what I saw. And like I said, I was able to watch about 6 minutes of the guy, but he's training with some good guys. He's dangerous on the feet. He comes forward. He has so much power. I've seen him drop a couple. I think it dropped both opponents. I think it dropped one and then submitted one, and then I think it dropped the other guy as well. So he's super dangerous on the feet, and then he has that submission game as well. I like what I see, but I just need to see a little bit more before you can have a ton of confidence in him. I like both guys here. I think both guys really impressed me. As far as making a pick, I think that Ascii is going to go after it just a little bit more. I don't like the backing up of Patterson. Patterson seems too, casual in there, and he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but I think Ascii is going to bring the fight to him and pressure Patterson, make him feel uncomfortable. And if Ascii can get this fight down to the mat, like, his ground game's legit. Like I said, he's training at King's MMA, training with really good guys. Don't know a ton about him, but I think I'm going to take the shot with Ascii as far as a pick goes here. So, a little questionable. I'm not sure what the line should be. This should probably be like close to a pick 'em. Just because we don't know a ton about Ascii, but we see that Ascii is a pretty big dog here. Patterson opened up minus 300, currently minus 200, and then Ascii opened up plus 250, currently plus 170. Line's coming down a little bit, and rightfully so. I think I like what I see from Ascii. It's just there's not a ton of information out there available, but I'll take Ascii as far as a pick goes. I'm going to take Ascii to win by first round. I'll say first round submission or TKO. First round finish, I'll say. All right, next we have Bo Nickel going against Donovan Beard, and yeah, there's not much to say here. I mean, we can start with the line right off the bat. Like I said, I checked it earlier in the week, and it was like minus 1,000, something like that, like minus 1,800. And now it is, minus 4,000. Minus 4,000 for Bo Nickel. Beard is currently plus 1,500. So, I mean, Bo Nickel training at American Top Team. He's 26 years old, 6'1", 2-0. No notable wins or losses for him. This will be a step up in competition here. 100% finish rate, one by knockout, one by sub. We saw a sub on the Contender Series a couple weeks ago. So, as we know, Penn State wrestling background, extremely high-level wrestler. I believe he's a blue belt in BJJ, which is good. He's working on that ground game. If you can get that jiu-jitsu up to par with that wrestling, even close to it, he's going to be super dangerous. Same with the striking. If you get the striking, up to par with like the wrestling, I mean, this guy can be super dangerous here. He throws hard on the feet, throws with a ton of power. He knocked out somebody in his MMA debut pretty early on there. And like I said, this is a step up in competition for Bo, but he's a massive favorite, minus 4,000. He has the ability to get it down to the mat. Obviously, he shut off his ground game his last time out. Very good submission game. And not a ton of MMA experience, but I think he's more than ready for the UFC. I think most people can agree with that. He has the BJJ background at this point. He's working on that. He's working on the striking. He's working with great guys at American Top Team. And if he can keep improving that striking and that grappling, I think he's going to be a huge problem. We see a lot of wrestlers, like one-dimensional wrestlers out there, where they don't have the striking, they don't have the grappling, but Bo is working on that striking and that grappling. So if he can really round out his game, I think the sky's the limit for him here, and he's training with some of the best guys in the world to do that. So really like Bo Nickel, but he's minus 4,000 here, going against Donovan Beard. And the thing is, like, Beard's not a bum by any means. He's fought some okay guys, I'd say. He's not a bum. But, I mean, we all know what's going to happen here. He's 32. He's 7-1. 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses. 72% finish rate. 43% by sub. 29% by submission. Has a sneaky submission game. But, yeah, I've seen him taken down pretty easily, which is not a great sign for this fight. Beard seems to also be way too comfortable off his back. Can lose minutes on the mat, which is not a good sign for this fight. Watch his fight against Forrest, and he was just taken down at will. Taken down a ton in that fight, which is not a good look for this fight. I think Beard needs to stuff takedowns here, and I just think it's going to be easier said than done. If he can keep it on the feet, yeah, I mean, you could have success potentially, but I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? Like, Bo Nickel's going to get him down, and when Bo gets him down, Bo's going to, land some ground and pound, look for a sub, and Beard's never been finished as a pro or amateur, but I just think that probably changes, and according to the odds, there's a very good chance that changes. So the fight doesn't go to decision is it was minus 600. The fight doesn't go to decision is minus 750. It's minus 900 on DraftKings, minus 910 on some books. It's minus 1,000 on Betway. The fight doesn't go to decision. And like I said, Beard's never been finished, but I don't think it's going to matter. The under 1.5 is minus 345, just unheard of. I mean, not much to say. Nickel's going to take down Beard. He's going to either TKO him or submit him. I don't think he's going to go out there and strike with Donovan Beard. Don't really see any reason to do that. But I think he's going to take him down in either a TKO or a submission, and probably in the first round. And I think Nickel gets his contract. So should be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. I'd be kind of surprised if this fight did see the second round, but should be a fun one nonetheless. But we did it, guys. 5 fights. Thank you so much for watching. This entire season was able to get out all 5 videos each and every week. Looking forward to Dana White's Contender Series coming back next year as well. And make sure you guys likes go a long way. Subscribe as well, so you don't miss out on all the other content throughout the week. UFC content coming out this week. Breakdown prediction video will be out soon. Live streams Friday and Saturday, all the good stuff. So make sure you guys are subscribed. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. If you have any questions, my DMs are always open. And guys, best of luck for Contender Series Week 10, the finale. Let's see what happens.